Well, hello everyone. Welcome to week 3. We hope you had a good holiday and were able to relax with friends and families. Hey, it was quite interesting and sobering. We brought flowers out to the cemetery where my mom is buried. And when you walk through, hundreds of graves marked with flags, maybe even thousands, um, you really get a sense of what sacrifice has been made for our country. I don't know if any of you are former or active military. If you are, thank you for your service. But walking through it is different than just driving by, and it really gives you pause to think about the sacrifice. But I want to update what's going on in week 3. Before I do that, I want to talk about how peer evaluations, either the comments or the letters, are going. And I want to do that by taking a quick look at the narrative descriptive essay peer groups in week 1. So let's go there right now. So my screen is going to look a little different than yours. I'm going to open this up. Now my screen shows all the particular peer groups. Yours will only show the groups that you are currently enrolled in, or the groups that are still open for you. I think it might just be the open groups. But let me show you one of the issues that cropped up. So I'm going to open up this group and then click on File Exchange. So what you can see is this folder, if you want to call it that, fills up pretty quickly. Each person should have 3 items in here. They should have, like Cody has, his first draft, The Greatest of Days. And remember, you should include your name and the title of the story. You should put the title of the story in quotation marks. You don't need to mark it as first draft. If you want to, that's okay. It's not necessary. And then it's important to identify who you're writing to when you do your letters or comments. Cody's letter to Evan, Cody's letter to Leah. Without that, your fellow students in the group are kind of guessing. They have to dig deeper to find out what's going on. But even so, you can see it gets a little complicated. So here's what I do and what you should do, especially if you can't do this all in your head and you post later in the week, say Sunday. So what I'll do is I'll go through and check off how many peer letters or peer comments have been made. So I counted 2 for Evan, 2 for Leah, 2 for Lisa. Cody got 3. And again, we don't want more than 2. But Jennifer, Justin, and Evan only ended up with 1. Now, one of the things that made it difficult is we had a student, Valerie, who dropped the course, and I think someone wrote a letter to her, which isn't your fault. You didn't know she was going to drop, and I don't think she did either at the point. But at least everybody got 1, but we don't want more than 2. So if you make a list like this, you'll know, okay, I should be responding to Jennifer, Justin, or Evan because they only have 1 review. We had a bigger issue with group 2, as you can see here. So Eric ended up with 4 letters. That's nice for Eric, but you'll see that Kyle and Bertha didn't get any letters or comments. And so this is why you need to be careful and take the time to count. Veronica got 3, Thomas 2, Danielle 3, Dakota 3. Again, nobody needs to have 3 of those at the expense of someone else. And by the way, I always encourage people, you should respond to different people each time you do your peer comments or peer letters. Don't keep responding to the same people. This is a great way to kind of online at least communicate and connect with other classmates and chat a little bit with them. Normally we just sit in a circle and we pass papers around and people are laughing and joking. It's fun and we're asking questions and it's a lot less clunky. Doing it online, I know it's not ideal, but this is about the best way we can do it, especially in an 8-week course where everything comes so quickly. In the peer group 3, there were 2 people who put process essays in there. That was a narrative descriptive essay folder. So I removed those and I told both of them that they need to join a process essay peer group. So pay attention to the names of the peer groups so your essay goes into the right folder and people can actually respond to it. We're off to a pretty good start with process essay letters and comments. Only a couple people have posted theirs, and so far I didn't see any duplication, so keep doing that. Let's go back to week 3 though and talk quickly about what's going on in there. So week 3 is about logical fallacies. As I say in a video down here, put on your philosophy hat. Uh, and it really is about errors in reasoning. Training in logical fallacies is usually part of what we used to call a classical education, based in Greek and Roman studies, and has been carried over into philosophy. MCC does have a philosophy department. Its sole full-time member is Andy Wibble. He's a great guy. If you get a chance to take a class with Andy, or any philosophy class at MCC, I highly encourage you to do it, and you'll learn more deeply. So some of this might make your head spin a little bit, but we are just saturated, especially in politics, in culture right now in our country, with logical fallacies, and I hear them daily. We don't want to repeat them as writers, as in critical thinkers, and this is why for our final 2 essays, persuasive and the research essay, I made a short presentation. Now I say short, it's a half hour. It's my longest lecture in the whole class. But you'll want to watch that because it gives you advice to do discussion board thread number 1. Here's where you submit your narrative descriptive final essay. A couple of items here. You only get 1 chance to submit, so please make sure you're doing it right. You've got the right file selected, double check, triple check before you hit submit, so that all works out. It does go to something called Safe Assign, which we will talk about a little bit later in the course, because it comes into play a lot more when we get into persuasive essays in our last one. Here's where you submit your peer letters or comments. Now it's important that you submit in 2 places. You need to submit in your peer group, but you also need to submit to Blackboard. Why 2 places? The peer group is its own little autonomous universe, and I can read them there, but I can't score them or comment on them or give credit for them. So if you don't put it in both places, in one case, your peers will lose out if you don't do that. But if you don't post it to Blackboard, I have no ability to give credit for it. So be careful of that, especially if that was an issue for you with the first draft of the narrative descriptive essay. Go to both places. Let's go back. Discussion board posts, logical fallacies. These are sites I go into more detail. You'll be looking for 2 examples of logical fallacies. You need to summarize, identify them, include the link, and these are the places to find them. And then we'll be going and doing a little bit of preliminary research. And so the only databases allowed for essays in this class are ones that come from the MCC library and Learning Commons. So like a Google search or something like that isn't allowed for this class. So what you're going to do is go in and read a pro-con article in CQ Researcher, and I won't read over these, but these are the points you'll need to cover as you do that. So how do we do that? Now I've opened these windows ahead of time because sometimes my recording software freezes, but you'll want to go over here and click on Library and Info Learning Commons, and then you'll end up with a place that allows you to choose Research Databases, and then you're going to scroll to CQ Researcher, and I've already opened that. Again, there are specific steps, but I'm afraid to go through them all here because it will freeze my screen basically. So what they'll do, I chose Slavery's Legacy and the 1619 Project, which is kind of a hot issue now, is they'll give you a pro and con viewpoint. So you'll be able to read that and then go in and write a summary and so forth, and let us know what your own opinion is as well. The details are in the discussion board. The nice thing about CQ Researcher is it stands for Congressional Quarterly. This is made specifically for congressmen in Washington, so senators and representatives. When an issue comes before them, this is where they go to find their information. Now, to be honest, it's their staffers who are reading most of this because congressmen are usually too busy to do that. Some of them do their own research, but most of them have others do it. And so this is just a great way to look at, especially issues that have different sides to them. It's not always, like I say, either or with logical fallacies, but there are at least 2 sides, and usually there's more. Now you can get more information, but you'll just be looking at pro-con, which is a little bit smaller part to look at. Now here's the best part. When you're using a source from CQ Researcher, if you click on Cite Now, it will give you the MLA format. So you can just copy and paste it, and you'll have that for your works cited page and anything else you need. Isn't that cool? In all the databases I'm going to show you have a tool for citation. Usually there's a cite now or there's quotation marks around it. And it really makes your life enormously easier when we get to works cited pages, which haven't happened yet, won't happen until we get to the final 2 essays, but it's still a really cool tool. Trust me, you're really going to appreciate it. And then finally, one last thing I want to share with you is the MCC Writing Center. So maybe you got enough feedback from your peers. I gave some cursory remarks. Again, it's about all I can do on a first draft with the time in this course. But if you want even more feedback, you can make an appointment with the MCC Writing Center. So I've opened up the College Success Center. And again, you can find this link on our Blackboard page. And you have to scroll down a bit. It starts with a lot of other information. But if you scroll down about halfway, you'll see the Writing Center. Now, it's run by Jamie Wright. Jamie is an excellent help for writing. She's been with MCC a long time. She's been doing it for a long time. You can set up an appointment. And typically, these are Zoom meetings, so you can actually speak face-to-face. However, availability isn't unlimited. So you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. These are the hours. If those don't work for you and you have a quick question, you can still try to ask Jamie. But you can see if you wanted to do that, you already should be trying to set up something for Thursday. So you'll have to communicate with her earlier rather than later. Now, I made this recommendation for the Writing Center for probably 3/4 of the essays in class, and that's because they need substantial revision, much more proofreading, much more revision than I can offer individually, and your peers can probably offer as well. Keep in mind that even the Writing Center probably isn't going to just correct everything for you. If you come to college thinking, well, they're just putting the commas for me, fix the sentences and those kinds of things, that never happens at the college level. So they'll provide some general feedback for you, maybe point out a specific instance if possible. But I highly recommend Jamie. She's a great resource. So you might just want to set up appointments for your last 3 essays. Maybe you can't get one for the process, but maybe for persuasive in the final essay, just with the idea that you want another set of eyes on it. So then you have 2 peers, some cursory remarks from me, and then you have Jamie in the mix as well, or someone else who's helping her to go through that with you as well. And the final thing I want to say is, please read my comments. Of course, you can ask any question you want in an email message. But it's a little discouraging for me when I've already answered that in the comments, because then I end up writing the same thing twice, and it's not a good use of anybody's time. So when you look at any score, look at the comments that are attached to that particular score and read through them carefully, so you understand why you received the score, any advice I might give to you, anything you don't want to repeat in the future, like discussion board, using the quote feature versus reply was an issue for a few of you. It's my basic way of communicating with you right away on that assignment what needs to be done. At any rate, we're in the thick of things now. We have a final draft due at the end of this week. We have peer letters due. So you'll be finding yourself writing usually about 4 or sometimes 5 substantial items each week, and that's pretty typical in an 8-week class. Again, any specific questions, it's always better to contact me earlier in the week than later because I have a little bit more time to respond to you. But I'll talk to you again next week, and I hope you have a good experience with process. Take care.